Hello, welcome to another Sonic Lab. Today we're looking at a trio of controllers from Novation. Boxes are over here. That's right, it's the LaunchKey range, well, and the LaunchPad Mini, of course. We'll start with that. We're probably not going to go into any depth on this because this is basically exactly the same as the LaunchPad S. It's just smaller. I haven't got one here to show you, but you can see that it's actually considerably smaller. You still get the same backlit pads, not velocity sensitive, and you still get the same 8x8 matrix here. So we've got 64 buttons here. We don't have quite as much printed legend on top, but the controls are essentially the same. Next up, we've got the launch control, and this is got 16 pots and 8 pads plus templates. Got factory mode, which is for Ableton Live native. We get cursors for moving the grid around and moving what we're controlling. And then also we've got the LaunchKey Mini. Now this is got 2-octave keyboard, 16 velocity sensitive pads, 8 knobs. These aren't rotary encoders. Cursor control for up and down and left and right track control. Launch scene launch and stop when you're in control. This in control button takes the unit into actual sort of Ableton control. So switch in and it becomes Ableton control, switch out, and this is just a sort of generic controller. All of these are kind of designed really to work in tandem. There's not really much overlap because if you use them all, I've got them all hooked up to Ableton here, and they all just kind of work out of the box. So if we start with the launch key and come into Ableton mode, I'm going to make sure my in control button is switched on, and that shows me the scenes that I've got. I use these up and down arrows and I can move between scenes. So if I launch this scene, pressing the bottom key stops it. Ditto if I bring in a couple of parts. The bottom row will just stop them. And now, similarly, the left and right key arrows give me the active track. We'll just stop that. I'm using my favourite synth, which is Sonic Charge Synplant for a lot of these parts. Now, it has to be said that just kind of works straight out of the box. I mean, the keyboard doesn't feel all that great. It doesn't got aftertouch, obviously, but the pads being velocity sensitivity also pretty handy because I can just patch up some drums. So if I just come along to my drums, come out of in control mode, and these just trigger my drum parts. And I find this actually really handy just for quickly throwing in drums. I mean, basically, the LaunchKey Mini just works straight in with Ableton. I mean, I can use it with other devices. I can use it as a generic controller for things like Logic and what have you. But obviously, I'm not getting exactly the same level of integration as I would with Ableton. So with Ableton, this on a laptop is actually a really nice little setup. But obviously, we've got other things that we can play with as well. So I've got this set up in Logic here. It's just a simple matter of setting up in Preferences, Control Surface Setup. I've got it set up as a Huey module, LK Mini in control, LK Mini out control, and now I can just use the track keys to switch tracks, and the knobs seem to affect pan for some reason. I don't know if they can affect other parameters. I couldn't actually find a way of adjusting that, but it means that I can just play along with no problem at all. And really, that just means I can plug it in and have a go. I mean, the end problem is, as soon as you start using it more musically, you're missing things like pitch bend and modulation. So this is the launch control, and as it comes out of the box, hook it up to Ableton, and these yellow buttons affect the mute status of the 8 channels, which you can bank in left and right. The only thing is you don't get a red box, so you can't see where you are. There is actually a little legend below. If you look at the bottom of the screen, it tells you what channels, track 4 to 10, 1 to 9. So it is feasible, but I'm not quite sure why they haven't actually implemented that. So what do the knobs do? Well, in this instance, the bottom one affects the volume, the top one the pan, then you press the down arrow and you get to be sends A and B, and you just flip between those with the up and down arrows. There's also another mode, so if we go press factory and number 2, we're in clip launch mode. So now we can launch various clips along the bottom here. If we want to mute them, we just drop down to where there is not one and hit, and it stops. So coming back up and launching those clips, we can flip easily between these, start switching things on and off. And again, I've got my levels, so I can adjust the balance of the track and maybe back into clip launch mode. Launch some of these as well. The third memory in the factory templates allows you to have individual control of devices within each track. So pressing and holding and hitting 3 enters that mode. So all I got to do here is a bank between tracks. So we'll go to this one, and now I choose my device with the up and down arrows, and then the knobs just correspond to the first 8 values. If I go along a few tracks, let's try this one, there's a few more things in the chain. Let's try that one there, and now I've got access to those parameters. And that's actually really neat, the way it integrates with the individual devices and the way you can switch between them, because you just keep going until you've run out of devices and you can go backwards and forwards. It's also possible, obviously, to set it up to work in your own custom templates. There's an editor that comes with it. And I can set the controller, the MIDI channel, the minimum and maximum values for the controller. On the switches, I've got the opportunity to go momentary, toggle, message type, whether it's a note or a CC. So then if I want to recall one of my user templates, I hit the template user button, and in this case I've got 3 set up, and now I've got this set to be drum pads. Now, it has to be said, the pads didn't light up in this instance, and also they're fixed velocity. You can set what that velocity is, but there's no velocity sensitivity on those pads. Now, I did try hooking up launch control in Logic to see if it did the Huey emulation mode. And just a question of, I had set it to all ports and any port, but it sadly didn't seem to work. I couldn't get it to control anything, which I think missed a trick. But however, there is actually a fairly comprehensive programmer's reference guide, which gives you all the hex codes and full MIDI logic to control the LEDs and have the buttons do what you want. So you can, you know, if somebody out there will probably make it work. It just doesn't work, as far as I can tell, out of the box. You can hook any of these devices up to your iPad one at a time. There is enough juice to power them. You just need your camera connection kit. In this case, I've got one to Lightning or a 30 pin. If you want to connect more up, which is entirely possible, you're going to need a powered hub. The Launchpad app from Novation allows you to launch clips and DJ sound effects. It's got lots of in-app purchases, allow you to get kind of making music and making sounds straight away. You buy these little packs here. You can audio import, which again is a paid upgrade, which allows you to bring your own clips into your iPad and control it from your hardware. So all of these units are priced at £79 each, which I'm guessing is about 99 bucks. So the LaunchKey Mini, 79 quid. The Launchpad Mini is 79 quid, and also the Launch Control, 79 quid. And what I like about them is they all have a sort of modularity. They all perform a specific function. I know we didn't go into the Launchpad Mini, but I have reviewed the Launchpad elsewhere, so do check that out, and there's plenty of information about how these work online. I wanted to really sort of focus on these new ones. And I must say, they all offer something specific. to a setup. They work especially well with live, admittedly, and if that's your weapon of choice, then I think it's probably well worth looking at one of these and seeing if it does the job. Obviously, if you haven't even tried a LaunchPad Mini, 79 quid's a good entry point to get into. And that really what it comes down to. If you're a live user and you're into controllerism, then these are some of the best implementations at an affordable level to get in and control. I think these two are my favourite. I like the LaunchKey Mini because of the way it integrates with clip launching, but Launch Control with the device control really does have something special to offer as well. I don't know if I couldn't decide which I'd have. I suppose I'll have to have all of them if I've really got to make a choice. Perhaps not the LaunchPad Mini though, because that is very specific, I think, for perhaps playing out a live control, whereas these other two will work nicely in the composition mode and be able to sort of tweak and mix.